Christine awakens in someone else's bed. She rises, gathers her clothes, and enters the restroom. There are pictures of her with the man all over one of the bathroom walls. She turns to go after realizing she has a wedding band on her hand. Ben is on the bed, waiting for her. He informs her that she is 40 years old and that they were married 14 years ago. As she's getting ready, he tells her that 14 years prior, she was in a vehicle accident that left her with certain injuries that prevented her from remembering anything. She accumulates knowledge for a day, but it all vanishes before bed, leading her to believe she is in her 20s when she wakes up. She's afraid, even if he asks her to trust him. He continues to tell her about their lives together and their wedding as he prepares breakfast. Ben gives her a list of items she might need, along with where to obtain them before he goes for work. She notices a message telling her to prepare her bag. Ben assures her that on their anniversary, he will be taking her somewhere special. The phone rings while Christine is by herself, attempting to make sense of things. Dr. Nash, who has been assisting her in regaining her memories, is the voice on the other end. He warns her that Ben might not be aware that she is visiting a physician. He then instructs her to search the back of her closet for a shoebox. When Christine opens the package, a camera is inside. Nash instructs her to turn it on. A tape of her plays on which she discusses her memory issue. Dr. Nash and Christine were in a car 2 weeks prior, and he confesses that their professional connection is a little unusual because he picks her up from home and sees her without her husband's knowledge. Christine feels bewildered and afraid. As they pull into a parking area, he tells her how he discovered her half a year earlier. He explains that he was prepared to work for free because he is a neuropsychologist and is writing a study on the kind of amnesia she has. Dr. Nash informs her on their way to his office that she accepted to work with him even though, when he called the following day, she couldn't remember who he was. Christine had told her husband about seeing a psychologist, but he was firmly against it because she had previously experienced treatment, which had just made her feel worse. He hands her the camera in his office and instructs her to make a visual journal. Dr. Nash informs her that 10 years prior, she was the victim of a horrific attack that left her with injuries. They resulted from several strikes to the head. Because Ben had told her a different story, she's perplexed. She questions why someone would attempt to harm her as the doctor shows her news clippings about the attack. He clarifies that nobody truly knows everything about her. He advises her not to tell Ben about the camera before they head out so she won't feel pressured to express her emotions. He gives her instructions on where to hide it and promises to contact her the next morning to remind her. She accepts the strategy. That evening, Christine visits the restroom to record the opening segment of her video journal as Ben makes cocoa for them. After explaining about her recollection, she runs to hide the camera and pretends to be asleep as she hears Ben coming up. The following morning, Christine awakens beside Ben, acting as if he's still in bed. They discuss her memory, their lives, and her life in the same way. She appears disappointed and doesn't know what she works for a living. Later, she and the doctor are back in the car, and she's watching the tape. Christine claims that if there were no recordings, she would have believed everything Ben told her, including the story about the vehicle accident. What other lies does he tell her? She thinks, says Dr. Nash. He can't take the chance of phoning her on the home phone. Christine wonders whether the treatment he is arranging for her would be effective and tells him that she wants to stop feeling scared all the time. Building trust with her is the reason behind his visit to the attack location. However, Dr. Nash notes that in certain rare instances, returning there helps trigger the recollection. They meet the caretaker when they go at the industrial complex. He leads them to the location where he discovered her and informs them that she was covered in blood and that she was just wearing a bedsheet. Even back then, she was unable to recall anything. She asks Nash what she was doing by the airport when they get back in the car. He informs her that there are numerous hotels in the vicinity and speculates that she may have been involved in an extramarital affair. Recent sexual activity was mentioned in the medical report. When she asks him if she was raped, the physician responds that the report seems to indicate otherwise. Christine finds it unbelievable that she would deceive. Subsequently, she's in her restroom, expressing that no matter what she does, she needs to remember what happened. She rushes outside to investigate after hearing the sounds of kids playing, but nobody is there. Ben joins her that evening as she enters to take a shower and starts kissing her. She remembers someone who had a scar on his jaw as they start to make love. As they both nod off, Christine dreams about her attack in a hotel room. Christine is being tested the following day by Dr. Nash. He presents her with images that she must identify. She presses the MRI's panic button after becoming agitated after viewing the images. He informs her that some of the photos were random and others were in her file when they speak later in a waiting area. The picture he showed her had caused a clear response in her mind. Despite the name Claire being written on the picture, Christine is unaware of the identity of the woman. She asks Ben about Claire that evening as they are eating dinner together. After stating that he doesn't know her, Ben queries Christine's motivation for bringing it up. He becomes interested in how much of her memory she can recall. Once she admits to having one, he informs her that it wasn't the first time she had remembered Claire. After she makes a few references, most of which are from the picture, Ben claims that although they were friends in the past, it is no longer relevant because she moved away. Christine is adamant that it matters. Ben enters and pulls out a box of pictures from his study. These are of Claire and her. Ben responds to her question by saying that he keeps them hidden from her in order to shield her from the possibility that her friend is incapable of handling her circumstances. Ben responds to Christine's question about how she can trust him by saying that he can't always handling everything by hiding things from her. She later records another audio clip in which she claims that Ben is keeping Claire from her and that she cannot trust him. He then notices that she has taped the Claire pictures on the bathroom door. Dr. Nash gives Christine a call and goes over everything with her once more. She plays again the recording from the day before, the one where it says don't trust Ben. She then closes her eyes and notices that the pictures from the day before have vanished. After losing her cool, she searches Ben's study for something. She discovers a key that opens the pictures. As she pages through them, she remembers Claire telling her that she is expecting. She quickly checks the photos and the albums in the restroom, but nothing indicates that she may have ever had a child. When Christine feels her stretch marks on her tummy, she recalls talking to her son. When she phones Ben to check on their child, he immediately returns home. Christine wants to know where their child is because she is upset, telling her that their son passed away. Ben gives her a hug. He informs her upon entering that the youngster passed away before turning 9 due to meningitis. He gives her a picture of their infant son Adam and fetches another package that he is hiding from her so that she won't find them on her own. Christine sobs and looks through the pictures, but she doesn't remember him. She notices a handwritten note in his birth certificate. Ben deletes the pictures, and Christine then records another video in which she expresses her own pain, even though it may not be new to Ben. And for the remainder of her life, it will be fresh every other day. Christine's nightmare about her attack in The Man with the Scar recurs. She watches her tapes of Adam after waking up in terror and sobs. Christine starts dismantling the bathroom photo wall. When she speaks with Nash once again, he responds that they had already discussed her son. When she asks if he is aware of him, she's started to consider the possibility that perhaps she shouldn't study everything. After asking the doctor to let them sit there for a time, Christine queries whether or not she should tell Ben about the therapy. That evening, she and Ben discuss Adam once more. If she was a decent mother before the accident, she queries. Ben says she had a fleeting recollection of him and that she loved him very much. Christine encourages Ben not to keep her son from her again, but she acknowledges how tough it must be for him to go through it all over and over again. He expresses regret to her. Christine has another nightmare that night. She sees her son in the motel where she is staying. She remembers the man with the scar once more after discovering a message bearing the name Mike. Finally, she recalls a portion of the assault. When Christine wakes up, she loses her memory once more. Dr. Nash and Christine are traveling somewhere in the automobile. She gives him the name Mike and identifies him as the man who injured her when they come to an end. When she discovers that the doctor's name is Mike, he consoles her and moves in to give her a kiss. She flees the automobile because she remembers him hitting her in the hotel room. He races after her along the long pier after retrieving a syringe from his trunk, eventually catching up with her. Later, Christine receives a call while relaxing on her couch. When she picks up the phone, Dr. Nash tells her that he gave her a sedative to help her feel better rather than put her to sleep. She can recall. He informs her that she was misinformed and prone to fabulation, blaming him for all of her anxieties and doubts. He tells her he has to give her an explanation in person. After learning something about Ben before hanging up, they share dinner together once Ben gets home. When he tries to call her, he asks her who she was speaking to on the phone, and she lies and says it was him. Christine is listening to Dr. Nash the following day, as she explains how patients who are as susceptible as she is often grow attached to their psychiatrists. Psychiatrists' emotional attachment to their patients is less common. That's not professional, he argues. When he informs her that he will send her to a colleague, she believes that he is her only hope and that they are moving forward. According to Dr. Nash, continuing to treat her would be immoral. However, he believes that she has made progress because, even before he contacted her that morning, she had remembered to watch the recording. He then informs her that he learned that Ben Ben arranged for her to be moved from an asylum to a nursing facility. After the doctor was able to speak with the administrator, she learned that her friend Claire had been attempting to contact her. He gives her the number for Claire. Nash was also informed by the administrator that Ben had divorced her 4 years earlier. Christine tells Claire over the phone that she really needs to chat to her later on. She visits Ben at his workplace. She presses for the truth, and he becomes irate when she asks if they are divorced. Ben explains to her that their son's passing is the reason. He initially turned his back on her, but he has since returned and vowed to never let her go again. Claire gives Christine a call back later that day. She recollects fragments of her past as Claire informs her that she had continued to call the nursing facility where Christine was admitted. She expresses her desire to visit her and her miss for her. They set up a meeting for 1 hour later at an observatory. Christine visits Claire and sits on a bench waiting for her. Claire comes to mind when Christine sees her. They had truly missed one another. Claire tells Christine that she was an excellent mother when she is asked if she was a good mother. Ben was an excellent parent too. Who did that to her? She asks her pal. Claire informs her that she was most likely having an affair when they have a drink. Eventually, she admitted it to her, but she never provided her with any information on the man. Claire says she's sorry about telling Ben, but because she'd already told the police, she had no choice. Christine believes that's the reason Ben never speaks to her about anything, not even herself. Claire informs her that following her accident, she made an effort to support Ben, and the two of them spent a great deal of time together, including sharing a bed. For that reason, she chose to avoid them. Christine gives Claire a note that Ben left for her, if she was ever proficient enough to read and comprehend it, as she departs. He gives his reasons for leaving her in the letter. Ben claims in it that their son's happiness and well-being could no longer stand to see her like way were the primary motivators. Ben arrives at the house just as Christine is finishing her letter. She films herself talking to Ben and assures him that when he watches the video, he will know everything, including the fact that her feelings for him are solely romantic. Later, Christine begins to Ben about everything that has been going on over the past few weeks. After showing him the film she made for him, he is upset that she withheld information about Dr. Nash from him when she tells him about it. He beats her after she tells him she loves him and forgives him. Christine informs Claire over the phone of Ben's situation. She promises to give him a call and then give Christine a call back. She claims in a video that she was hit by him in the interim. After 4 years, Claire informs her over the phone that Ben has been living alone and hasn't seen her. She asks her to tell her about Ben. Their descriptions are incongruent. Claire informs her that Christine is experiencing a flashback and that Ben has a scar on the side of his cheek. When the Ben she recognizes returns, she dashes to the restroom to look at the pictures to see whether he has any scars. Claire informs her that the man she is living with is not Ben when she fails to see one. Christine discovers all of the pictures on the wall have been altered abruptly. She starts to recall the attack and pleads with Claire for assistance, but she is unable to recall her address. Ben tries to enter, but Claire instructs her to find out. After having yet another attack flashback, she unlocks the door. Ben is not present. After descending the stairs, Christine tries to exit through the main door, but discovers it is locked. Ben snatches her out of the blue as she leaves the house after discovering the key to the back door. The next morning, Christine finds Ben in her bed. After seeing the pictures in the bathroom, she goes outside to find him sitting on the bed and introducing himself. The doctor phones her after he leaves, instructing her to locate the camera. All she sees is the tape on which she declares her love for Ben. She then becomes aware of the bruise on her cheek. This time, Ben answers the phone and wants to know if everything is alright. Claire is attempting to contact her cell phone, which is with him. She had to pack for their anniversary, Ben reminds her. She declares her love for him. Nash is called to the main reception later on when he is attempting to reach Christine. When Ben runs into him, he says hello. Ben instructs Nash to avoid Christine when he inquires about her well-being. Ben and Christine head down to a motel close to the airport that evening. When she inquires as to whether it is truly their anniversary, he responds that it is actually a different kind of anniversary than their wedding. Christine is perplexed as to why he took her there. After offering her a drink of champagne, he says he wants her to never forget her attack. She realizes all of a sudden that he is indeed Mike. When Christine inquires about Ben's whereabouts, Mike informs her that her spouse left, but Ben stayed. With the goal of taking care of her, he used fictitious paperwork to take her out of the nursing home. He wants her to remember everything, though, since he's sick of lying. Christine recalls him beating her and threatening to call her husband on the day of the attack. It dawns on her that it was him who had attacked her. He begs her to stay, telling her he blames himself for what occurred. Christine recalls specifics from the night he attacked her. which makes her fearful. Mike begs her repeatedly not to go, but when she does, he slaps her once more before moving aside to see if she will. He assures her that they will either depart as a group or separately. After telling her she's free, he starts erasing all of her recordings from the camera. She follows Mike's instructions to kiss him out of fear. He informs her that because Ben and Adam have forgotten her, she needs to move on. When Christine discovers Adam is still alive, he begins abusing her once more. Despite her attempts to resist, he has the upper hand and starts to choke her. Christine stabs him in an attempt to get away, but he only clutches her once again. She eventually renders him unconscious, leaves the room, and sounds the fire alarm. The police and ambulances have surrounding the hotel. Christine is filming a new video in which she describes what happened to her while riding in the back of an ambulance. Subsequently, Dr. Nash enters her hospital room, wakes her, and introduces himself. He clarifies to her that he is not her physician, but rather her buddy. Claire will come get her and bring her home, since she needs someone to look after her. If she remembers Claire, he asks. According to Christine, she does. Nash keeps talking to her, telling her that Mike will spend a significant amount of time behind bars for what he did to her. He then informs her that he may have a visitor who could prove to be a game changer for her medical care. When Nash turns to face him again, Ben, her true ex-husband, is at the door. He is allowed inside the room by Dr. Nash. He walks up to her and introduces himself as Ben, saying that if he had known she was in danger, he would not have stayed away. He tells her about Adam as he settles in. Ben claims that they both adore her immensely. He leaves to go fetch Adam. The boy enters and goes to speak with his mother. She recalls what she used to say to him when he was younger after he introduces himself to her. At last, Christine recalls him. He's her Adam, she says as they give each other a hug.